What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the CombatCast. In today's episode, I want to talk about two topics that are somewhat intertwined. So, back at One Friday Fights 22 on June 23rd of 2023, Anatoly Malykhin beat Arjan Bular for the One Heavyweight World Championship. My God, that was one of my more favorite moments in One Championship history, given that Bular had been holding the title for over 2 years with 0 title defenses. Now, I was glad that Anatoly Malykhin had captured the heavyweight title, not to mention his second belt, because he's also the one light heavyweight world champion. He caught me off guard a little when he said in his post-fight interview that he would be hunting for a third belt, which in his case was the one middleweight world championship currently held by Reinier de Ridder. Now, this is kind of problematic in my opinion because, okay, it's good that he's a double champion, but if in the event that he does face Reinier de Ridder and he does beat Reinier de Ridder to win the one middleweight world champion and becomes a triple champion, another issue arises. Title defenses. Which, let's be honest, it's always been a recurring issue in One Championship, okay? I feel that, just with 2 belts alone, I think Anatoly Malykhin is going to have a hard time juggling those 2 belts. I was actually hoping that now that Anatoly Malykhin is the new one heavyweight world champion, we'd be seeing more of the pieces moving in the one heavyweight division. Because now, the one heavyweight division, sure, it may not be the strongest division in the world if you compare it to, let's say, the PFL, UFC, or Bellator, but it's got some talent. I mean, you've got Buchecha Almeida, you've got Umar Kane, Rugrug, you've got Amir Ali Akbari, you've got Kang Ji Won, okay? And the last 3 are relatively unknown. I mean, Buchecha Almeida is highly accomplished in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, but when it comes to the other 3, like Ali Akbari, Kang, and Umar, they're unknown. They're relatively unknown in mixed martial arts. So yeah, I feel like any of those 4 that I mentioned would make wonderful matchups in a heavyweight title fight with Anatoly Malykhin. And I feel like the pieces can finally start moving after Arjan Bular held up the heavyweight division for so long for no meaningful reason. And yeah, so that was my concern when he called out Reinier de Ridder to hunt for the third belt. Now, fortunately, Reinier de Ridder was quick to respond to Malykhin's call out. He congratulated him, but he basically said that, yeah, he wasn't going to wait for Malykhin to lose weight and face him near the end of the year. Instead, he was more interested in fighting Shamil Erdogan of Turkey, who actually fought on the same card as Anatoly Malykhin that night. Shamil Erdogan, appearing on One Friday Fights 22, he destroyed Fan Rong, okay? He pulverized him in the first round using the grounded knees to the head of an opponent. And then in the second round, he basically forced him to quit with that kick to the body. It was sad to see, Fan Rong seems like a likable fighter, but he's faced a lot of solid competition. And I used to think that after Reinier de Ridder had had like basically beat everyone in the middleweight division. I felt like there was only Fan Rong left. You know, Reinier de Ridder had beaten all the let's say the who's who of the middleweight division. He'd beaten Ong Lan Song, he'd beaten Vitaly Big Dash, and he'd also beaten Kiemrian Abazov, the former one welterweight champion who decided to move up. Bad idea for him. He basically got arm triangle choked. But yeah, Reinier de Ridder, he's got really good jiu-jitsu. But then I realized when I thought that Fan Rong would make a good matchup for Reinier de Ridder for a title fight, I realized that Reinier de Ridder was Fan Rong's opponent in his one championship debut. And Fan Rong lost that fight by Darce choke. Yeah, so he's really had a tough run in one championship, you know? Not to mention, Fan Rong has lost to the guys Reinier de Ridder beat as well. He's lost to Ong Lan Song, he's lost to Vitaly Big Dash, both times by guillotine choke as well. So yeah, I guess you could say Fan Rong is the gatekeeper of the one middleweight division. But nevertheless, at least there's a new contender in the middleweight division, Shamil Erdogan. Reinier de Ridder did say himself that he wanted some new blood by facing Shamil Erdogan. And I think it's a good thing that, Reinier de Ridder is getting a new challenge in the form of Shamil Erdogan. Now, so apparently, Anatoly Malykhin, after hearing that Reinier de Ridder is more interested in facing Shamil Erdogan, he willingly backed off because Shamil Erdogan and Anatoly Malykhin are friends and former training partners. And Malykhin has actually sung his praise for Shamil Erdogan. And so, according to an article from Sportskita, Malykhin said this about Shamil Erdogan, okay? Shamil is a friend of mine. He beat me in freestyle wrestling in the past. He has got great wrestling, already good kickboxing. He's a good, calm, balanced fighter and a man. A great representative of his nation. So yeah, that says a lot. Mostly because, well, Anatoly Malykhin has faced Reinier de Ridder before, and Malykhin was the shorter fighter, but yeah, he was the heavier fighter, I suppose. He was a heavyweight moving down to light heavyweight, and the light heavyweight division in any other promotion, it would still be considered heavyweight anyways. It's 225 pounds. I'll put up the metric conversion for 225 pounds right here. But yeah, I think so. I guess Malykhin still had the strength advantage. But what I mean to say is Malykhin was able to stop all of Reinier's takedowns, because like what most people don't know, what most One Championship fans don't know, is that while Malykhin relies a lot on boxing and like Muay Thai or kickboxing, he's actually an accomplished freestyle wrestler. I think he was like a Russian national champion. And he used a lot of good sprawling techniques. He stopped Reinier's takedowns, which a lot of the times Reinier takes down his opponents with little to no resistance. So if what Malykhin says is true, Shamil had beaten him in freestyle wrestling, I feel like Shamil Erdogan versus Reinier de Ridder for the middleweight title would be one of Reinier's biggest challenges in his middleweight title defenses, because he's been dominant in the middleweight division, there's little to no resistance. At this point, I was thinking, like, my gosh, who is there left to, challenge Reinier de Ridder for the middleweight title. He's almost cleared out the entire division, given there's still a few fighters who've only fought once and then their names have never been spoken of again. I'm gonna look him up now and see. Look up the list of current known fighters under contract with one, and look up the middleweight division. Okay. Aside from Ong Lan Song, Vitaly Bigdash, and Fan Rong, you have Gilberto Galvao, who most recently lost to Ong Lan Song at One Fight Night 6. There's Yushin Okami, the UFC veteran. There's Daniel Zainalov, who has that one victory over Yuri Shimos back in 2022. And Ali Foladi, who last fought at 161, 2022. So yeah, there's guys like these guys, Zainalov and Foladi, like, they fought once and then their names were just never spoken again. It makes me wonder, like, will they ever fight again? When will they fight again? That's just what I'm wondering. But Shamil Erdogan versus Reinier de Ridder does look promising. And if they do finally set a date for it, it's a fight I'm definitely looking forward to watching. Reinier de Ridder did say that he was hoping to face Shamil Erdogan sometime in either August or September, and then he was hoping to settle his score with Anatoly Malykhin in October or November. Okay, which brings me to my next concern, okay? Even if Anatoly Malykhin somehow miraculously... Okay, first things first. Suppose, okay? This is all hypothetical. Suppose Reinier de Ridder retains his title against Shamil Erdogan. Let's say One Championship sets a matchup between Anatoly Malykhin and Reinier de Ridder for sometime between October or November. Anatoly would have to lose a considerable amount of weight, okay? Because even in his light heavyweight title fight, you have to consider that one's light heavyweight division is still, by like the global MMA standards, light heavyweight in One Championship is still heavyweight. As I said, 225 pounds. Metric conversion over here. So, basically, Anatoly was still a heavyweight when he was fighting Reinier de Ridder for the light heavyweight championship. Now, my concern is, if he does get to face Reinier de Ridder for the middleweight champion, assuming Reinier retains against Shamil Erdogan, can Malykhin make the one middleweight limit while hydrated? And the one middleweight limit is 205 pounds. Here's the metric conversion. Because his entire career, Anatoly Malykhin has only fought in the heavyweight division, also including when he fought for the light heavyweight title. If I were to assume, I don't think he's ever fought below 224 pounds, because that's what he weighed in his fight against Reinier de Ridder. And yeah, so it's really hard to imagine Anatoly Malykhin, 1, passing hydration, and 2, weighing in at 205 pounds while hydrated. Because One Championship does have a strict policy when it comes to the weighing in and the hydration. Granted, Demetrius Johnson did reveal during a Joe Rogan appearance that there are some athletes who have managed to bypass the system. They've actually cut the weight and managed to hydrate themselves. And it's actually a dangerous process. MMA On Point actually released a video of how to bypass the system. And this isn't for anyone to recreate, but I will link their video below in the description box. But yeah, if Anatoly has mastered that system, then good on him, but I don't think it's good for his health in the long term. But yeah, either way, I don't think it's a good idea for him to go down all the way to 205. I don't know if the weight cut will take a toll on him. But yeah. And let's assume he does win the middleweight title fight against Reinier de Ridder. Then you have another problem. He's holding on to 3 belts. How will he get around to defending all 3 belts, okay? Chatri has already addressed the issue of champions defending their titles. Can he possibly, manage his time efficiently and defend the 1 heavyweight championship, the 1 light heavyweight championship, and the 1 middleweight championship? Okay, now in my years of watching 1 championship, I think he can get away with the 1 light heavyweight championship because the light heavyweight division is basically non-existent. The only light heavyweight fighter at a given time in 1 championship is the fighter who's holding the belt. So before Anatoly Malykhin, the only light heavyweight fighter was the light heavyweight champion before him. In that case, Reinier de Ridder. And before Reinier de Ridder, it was Aung La N Sang. And so on. And oh yeah, before Aung La N Sang, it was Roger Gracie, which was like way back. And I think Anatoly Malykhin can get away with that. So the light heavyweight division is basically heavyweights cutting down, or middleweights moving up. So yeah, but the issue is the middleweight and the heavyweight titles. How is Anatoly Malykhin going to manage that? Me personally, I want to see Anatoly Malykhin just take his mind, just forget about trying to win that 3rd belt, the middleweight championship, okay? And put his mind to defending the heavyweight championship. It's finally time, to get the wheels on the heavyweight division moving, okay? He finally took the belt from Arjan Bolar. A lot of fans are happy that he did, myself included. Yeah. And what I'm looking forward to most personally with regards to the middleweight division is that Reinier de Ridder getting a new challenge, and hopefully Shamil Erdogan giving him like a true grappling, showcase. It's gonna be freestyle wrestling versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Hopefully, Shamil Erdogan can be the true equalizer to Reinier de Ridder's dominant style of Jiu-Jitsu. And yeah, only time will tell. And heaven forbid, if Erdogan fails, let's hope we see these other fighters, Daniel Zainalov and Ali Faladi get called upon to challenge for the title. Because honestly, and realistically, if Erdogan is unsuccessful in his bid for the title, the next people in line would be Aung La N Sang. And I can already picture that Aung La N Sang is going to get dominated all over again. Because he was dominated twice by Reinier de Ridder. I still remember watching the middleweight title fight between Aung La N Sang and Reinier de Ridder. Reinier quickly got on Aung La N Sang's back and just applied the rear naked choke like it was nothing. And he forced him to tap out. And at the time I thought Aung La was like invincible, like you could hit him as much as you want, and he will never back down. But the thought of him getting submitted never crossed my mind until watching that fight back in October 2020. But yeah, it was incredible. It made me realize how great of a fighter, a jiu-jitsu-based fighter, Reinier really was. Now, in their second fight, which was for the one light heavyweight world championship, sure, Reinier didn't finish Ong La, but he dominated him on the ground for all 25 minutes, for all 5 rounds. Like, yeah. And I do not see Ong La standing a chance in a third fight. And yeah. So, I guess I'm putting my hopes on Shamil Erdogan. Right now he's undefeated. He did brutalize Fan Rung pretty bad, so let's see if he can do the same, if not similar to Reinier de Ridder. And yeah, that's all I have to say with regards to the middleweight division. And let's hope Anatoly Malykhin leaves that alone. Let his friend Shamil Erdogan do the job. And as for Anatoly Malykhin in the heavyweight division, I want to see him consistently defend the title, and hopefully we can see one championship sign more heavyweights to become new contenders to Anatoly Malykhin. You know, finally get the heavyweight division back in action. One of the more interesting fighters I've seen on the One Friday Fights event cards is Lawrence Phillips. You know, you don't see many heavyweights fighting on the weekly One Friday Fights, but Lawrence Phillips is the one of the few. And in his debut, I don't remember his opponent, he put up a highlight reel slam knockout, and second fight, he stopped his opponent using a crucifix and some ground and pound. So, personally, I just think that Lawrence Phillips does not belong in the One Friday Fights events. He should actually be fighting on the main roster, because there are... Actually, I'm just going to say it. There's one heavyweight who I feel does not belong on the main one heavyweight roster. Dustin Johnson. Actually, I'm surprised he actually even won his last fight. He's got such an awkward fighting style, okay? He doesn't go for the finish. I don't know if he can't or just he won't, okay? I'm surprised he's still on the roster, okay? And like, yeah. I would replace Dustin Johnson with Lawrence Phillips. That's right. Okay, I said it. Lawrence Phillips is more entertaining. Dustin Johnson, he's borderline boring and awkward. So, yeah. That's all I have to say about that. But anyways, back to the topic about the whole heavyweight championship and the heavyweight division as a whole. Yeah, I want to see Anatoly Malykhin get the pieces back to moving, okay? So, an upcoming heavyweight matchup is to look forward to is Buchecha versus Umar Kane. So that's happening, and hopefully the winner of this fight gets to face Anatoly Malykhin for the title. That would be real fun. Yeah. And here's to hoping this is a fresh start to the one heavyweight division. And that's pretty much all I have to say for today's episode. That sums it up. Yeah. Here's to better days in both the one heavyweight and one middleweight division. Anyways, if you made it this far, please don't forget to press like and subscribe. Yep. And if you've made it all the way to the end, I wish you all good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.